All right, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy B Phil, and you know what it do. It's time to learn something new. Let's jump right into it. All right, so if you recall last time, we went ahead and explained just the basics of Langchain and how you take a prompt, put some information into that prompt, you send it off to an LLM, and then it does some particular type of processing based on the instructions in your prompt, gives you some output, and we parse it. Well, we saw one way to do it in Langchain. We're going to look at another way, and this is probably the preferred way. There's a lot to this. It's the Langchain expression language. Let's go ahead and take a look at what it actually is. So the LCEL, Langchain expression language, is a declarative way to easily compose chains together. LCEL was designed from day one to support putting prototypes in production with no code changes, from the simplest prompt plus LLM chains to more complex chains. And it says they've seen folks successfully run LCEL with chains with hundreds of steps in production. And to highlight a few, and it goes through what it actually offers here. And so what we're going to do is we're just going to do a very basic implementation of this with the previous example, just to highlight what you can do with LECL. So without further ado, let's jump right into the code. And this isn't what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. So as you saw here, we had our previous example. We had, of course, all of our imports. We wanted to classify some particular customer. As you see here, Brandon loves cats and avid parrot lover as well. He doesn't love dogs, but he's willing to take care of them. It's not his preference. E-commerce store to sell dog toys, right? We had categories, all this good stuff. The fun happens when we get down to here, when we go ahead and LLM invoke, and then we pass in that chat prompt, and then we go ahead and parse the output. And so, as we can see, we had this parse output, then we had to print this actual categorization just to show you that we actually have some output that we can pass to another system. Now, let's think about if we want to use LECL. And so LECL is just a shortened version. And so instead of doing this LLM.invoke, we'd go ahead and create a chain, and we'd say the prompt, and we go ahead and put input into the prompt, pass that to the LLM, and then we pass that to the output parser. Okay, great. So just so you get a better understanding of what that looks like, I went ahead and did a small drawing. And so I used a pipe here just to highlight the fact that we're just passing something, just think about water or something like that, to another system to do something with. So in your city, you have these these sewage systems that transfer all these resources, just say water, right? From your toilet, from the water plant, all these good things. So what happens is, that's debatable. We have some prompt here, and we want to pass some parameters into this prompt. This is the first part of the pipe, and so we're going to pass those, as we saw before, the customer information, the categorization list, so on and so forth. Now, what we want to do is we want to pass the output of that, which is a well-formatted prompt. So if we go back here, we see where we format this message. We're going to be using just standalone prompts, but this is going to be the output, a string typed message. So it's just going to be a string with all of our parameters input into it. And we're going to pass that into the LLM. And after the LLM processes it, it's automatically going to be ran through our output parser, at which point we're going to go ahead and get the output here. And it's going to be in the form that we would expect it to be in. And so we see that here with this output parser.parse. And of course here, that's what we're going to go ahead and get. And so we're automatically going to do all these things by using the LCEL. And I misspelled this up here, but it's LCEL, Langchain expression language. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump into it. So we're going to go ahead, for the sake of brevity, go ahead and copy and paste all of the prerequisite information. So we're going to be using Bedrock, and we're going to use Claude Haiku from Bedrock. So if you can't utilize AWS at this particular point, you should be able to go to the Anthropic console. If you're in America or one of the supported countries, but this is going to be specifically around Anthropic. So let's go ahead and you can get your API key from here for the Anthropic console. So with this particular demo, let's go ahead and just highlight how we would use LECL in place of how we were doing it previously. So we'll say chain 1, and we'll say that equals our prompt. And here we already have the prompt here. Let's not use that. So we'll say our prompt template. Great. And we're going to pass that to our LLM, which is going to be Bedrock. And then we're going to pass that to our output parser. Great. So when we do this, now we can just go chain1.invoke, and let's say classification output. And in this invoke, we're going to go ahead and pass in these variables. So we'll say customer information, and this is going to equal the customer information, right? And so on and so forth. So we're going to go industry, and of course the categories and categories. All right, great. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and run this same as we ran the previous one. So let's just go ahead and run all of this. And in this classification output, we should just get the same classification output here as we got in the other one. So here we go, categorization, okay, customer, okay, great, however, he's an avid cat lover. Okay, so it categorized me. So this is just in very plain language how you can use the LCEL to go ahead and run a particular chain. Now, let's just go into an extended example. So I have more to show you here, and you have a wider idea of like what Langchain would look like with more steps to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and bring in a new classification. So now let's just assume we have this customer. We know that they're a dog lover or they're a cat lover. At this point, it looks like Brandon's a cat lover. Whoever this Brandon guy is probably pretty crazy to love cats. And we want to go ahead and decide which email list we should go ahead and put this person on, because we have a good idea that they might like X, Y, or Z, and we have hundreds of websites, micro websites that are selling particular products, and this person seems like it's a cat. He's a cat person. So let's go ahead and decide or put some type of routing in place to ultimately do some action to put this guy on the email list. So let's go ahead and create another output parser, and we'll say output parser 2. And first, before we do that, let's create a class, and we're going to go ahead and call this class the email list output. And let's go make this a base model, and we'll say email list selection. And this, of course, is going to be a string, and this is going to be a field, of course. And it's going to say email list that customer should be part of. And then we're going to go ahead and do an explanation again so we can make this explainable following these future regulations. And so we're going to put a description here, and we're going to say explanation for the email list category, email list selection. Great. So now we have this email output. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and get our output parser here again, and we'll just say email output. Great. And now let's go ahead and create another prompt here, and I already have this set up. So we have a prompt template. So based on the category selected in the previous question, put the prospect on a particular email list. And we want to pass it some email list, the previous responses, and of course our format instructions. And so we'll say is an avid parallel as well. And we'll just say he doesn't prefer dogs. Great. Okay, so now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and set up a chain. And so let's go ahead and say chain 2, and we'll say we're going to pass in the prompt template 2 here. and we're going to pass in the LLM. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and say output parser 2. And finally, we're going to go chain2.invoke. And this is going to require the email list. So we're going to go email list. And of course, we didn't put our email list here yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up with some. So let's go ahead and go email list. And this is going to be a string of list. And let's say dog list. And then the cat list. And then, of course, the parrot list. Great. We don't need to initialize that just yet. So let's pass this in as email list. And then we want to pass in the previous responses. So we say previous responses. And of course, let's just go ahead and say string classification output. Actually, what we can do is we can say classification. No, actually, let's do this .json. And great. So we'll say email list. And we should be good to go here. So let's go ahead and run all of this one more time. And we see we screwed something up here. And it looks like in this email list, we didn't set something correctly. So we did dot. We did an equal string. Equals fields. We didn't do description here. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, and we're going to run this one more time. All right, so we're done here, and we're going to go ahead and see what we got in the email list. And we got the email list, so it says cat list and the parrot list. And Brandon loves cats and parrots, but does not prefer dog, which is primary product sold in an e-commerce store. He is there considered a worse customer since he is unlikely to purchase the store's main product. And so for that store, it wouldn't be good, but for maybe all of my 99 other stores, it's going to be great. And so what I aimed to show you here was the LCEL, or Langchain expression language, and just a very simple example of one chain passing output to another chain. And ultimately, right, we're just putting these as strings. This can get a lot more complex. There are a lot more options to this LCL, but hopefully you learned something new. And go ahead and hit that like button. Leave me some comments and let me know what you want to see. Maybe some more complex examples, or just if you want me to build something out for you and you have some interest in seeing how that's built out and the process of that, let me know as well. And of course, hit that subscribe button. It'll help me out a lot. So anyways, you have a wonderful day. I'll talk to you later. Peace.